We'll all be glad. So we're all welcome once more to another session of these exciting moments that we've also titled Common Sense with Freddy. As we all know, Fred is our convener of this platform, and it's always an opportunity for us to be able to learn one or two things from our guest speakers. So in the year 2020, we decided to kickstart it with a very, very solid topic that resonates with everyone for every serious minded personality. So we talk about goal settings, and we've gotten a resource person that will be doing will take us through on how we'll set our goals for 2021, even in the midst of this COVID pandemic. So, but before I proceed, I would like to call on Fred to give an opening remark. Then, after which, we'll go straight to introduce our guest speaker for today's event. And I would like to implore us to listen attentively. Please pick your barrels and your notes. There's a lot to learn because we're going to be hearing from a very resource personality today. And I would like to leave it at that point. When we get to the main crux of the matter, attest to what I've just said. So, Fred, over to you, please. Just opening remark, just a quick one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I am honored to have you here. Just to let you guys know, Common Sense with Freddy is just a caption, but the most important thing I want you guys to know is that it's a collection of professionals coming together to share and then impact lives as much as we can. I might sound to be a convener, like he rightly said, but it's a collective responsibility. His support, it's immeasurable. We have other coaches that you guys know that also come on this platform. So Zit Worldwide is a family. It's not just me anymore. We have other coaches on the platform. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for being here. And the interesting part I want you guys to know is that Emmanuel is a certified John Maxwell coach. Our speaker today is also a fellow certified John Maxwell coach. So, I mean, we are all certified coaches, so you can be sure that you're going to be hearing the same related subjects that I've been talking about. So I trust them so very much. And you will also notice that on this platform, we tend to bring people that are career focused, career driven. Our coach, you're definitely going to hear about him too. Emmanuel is a professional. He also is a professional. I am a professional. And we encourage everybody to seek to be professionals. That is the crux of the whole message we keep pushing out there. Hard work, do what you need to do. Use your mind, use your brain, use the resources that God has embedded inside of you, which is your mind, and then you'll just be fine. Like Emmanuel said, grab your pen, grab your paper, and then get ready to jot as much as you can. Thank you very much once again for being here. I can see we have significant numbers that are here already, and we are set to roll. Emmanuel, over to you.
Thank you, Fred, for that opening remark. So, just to let us know that these sessions will be recorded because we will like to have it documented in our archives that this session was held. And so, just going by the current protocols we have in terms of seeking people's consent before you do things like this. So, if you know you're comfortable, which I believe everyone is, just let you know that this session will be recorded. Thank you. So at this point, I would like to go straight to the subject of today. So we'll be talking about goal setting for the year 2021 and beyond. That was Mr. Boss. I'll tell you that what you're going to learn today is going to take you beyond the year 2021. So I have with me a brother, a friend, and a colleague, Ben Apute. Ben is a business and organizational culture reformer. Uh, he focuses on upscaling performance and optimum. He's also an asset performance, and he also looks at the energy benchmarking process. So he's an analyst in the energy benchmarking space. He's also an author and a personal development enthusiast. He lives in Nigeria, and we're privileged to have him on Bonny Island. He's also a international public speaker, inspirational one, and he has over 3,000 engagement hours. As at the time we got this data, it was 3,000. But I tell you, from that time, even within the COVID pandemic period, he's been doing a lot of stuff in that space. He's also interested in, he's a media, technology, and innovation maniac, and is certified SHL interview expert and skill coach. And he also has certification on Kaizen continuous improvement. Wow, very important. He's also a certified professional mentor and career coach with the IMCCN. He's a member of the Hive Africa GLP 2.0. He's a member of International Institute for Global Leadership. And also, just like Fred has earlier said, a John Maxwell coaching and training team. And also a member of a mentor in the Young African Leadership Initiative. Is the author to one of the arguable best books on purpose discovery and fulfillment titled What is My Purpose? I'd like you to take note of that book, What is My Purpose? The $1 trillion question. Please go search for that book and read it. I tell you, it is a life transforming book, and it took time. So, just this morning, I was looking at some videos on YouTube, and I saw a documentary about the story behind that book. It was really inspiring. It was really inspiring. And is the initiator of the History Makers Conference. Is an annual personal development and human capacity conference in Nigeria, a platform through which he has been able to mentor and influence over 1,200 proteges, one person. So his professional career spanned years across different sectors, ranging from the education, telecommunications to banking, with a brief stint in entertainment. So Ben is never a dull person. So all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And in the last 8 years, he has spent it in the oil and gas sector. He's undergone several training within and outside the shores of Africa, Europe, Switzerland, Ukraine, Malaysia, Egypt, to mention a few, on people management, servant leadership, disruptive thinking, problem solving, crucial conversations, strategic business development, business continuity plan and management, and also industrial analytics. Learning how to learn is based on this SHL interview experts. Also, is he has put his skills into the coaching of a lot of persons in various fora. So, like I earlier said, he has accumulated 3,000 speaking hours across different platforms, including radio stations, academic institutions, Google Development Tech Fest, Coca-Cola Regional Ideation Bootcamp, Social Entrepreneurship Hub, non-profit organizations, and also religious organizations. He's also facilitated several leadership and personal development training for individuals and government parastatals such as the Nigerian Legion and the Nigerian Army. So Ben has found new love in nation building, human and business performance upscale. And Ben, I would like to encourage us at this point that we should, after this engagement, pick up that book, What is My Purpose? The $1 trillion question. If you read that book, you'll find it very interesting and very resourceful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Mr. Ben Apute into our midst. So, Mr. Ben, over to you. A round of applause for him. You can all unmute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening
Yeah.
to everybody within the shores of Africa, and hello to you, whatever part of the world you're from. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. We can hear you loud
All
and
right,
clear.
all right, all right. I hope there's no background noise. I'm actually off location now.
I can hear you.
All right. I'm off location. I'm in a hotel actually. I came for something quickly in Worry, and it's been crazy here. The kind of noise I hear around. I've been wondering if it was going to interfere with our program. But thank you very much. Thank you to the leadership of Commonsense with Freddy. Freddy, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I see a lot of what you're doing. I'm hoping to get the invite to the party. I know we're celebrating. We just celebrated one huge milestone not too long ago on LinkedIn. So I'm watching that space. I know I will get that. And thank you to my very own boss as well. You said what?
I said one just got celebrated today as well. He just got a full scholarship with Princeton University, an Ivy League school.
Wow. Fantastic.
Wow, that's
amazing.
Good. That's
amazing.
good.
Amazing.
Today.
That's how stars do, yeah? Fantastic. Amazing. Thank you very much to you, and thank you to everybody, 18 persons on the call. At some point when Mr. Mane was reading the profile, I was just asking myself, okay, so I hope I will meet and exceed people's expectation. All right, so that just by the way. I'm quickly going to dive into what we have because the truth is goal setting is fundamental for success. As a matter of fact, everything in life begins with goal setting, right? So if you don't have a goal, then you probably don't have a reason to live. And, you at best, you could just go with the tide, and only dead fishes go with the tide, really. And that's why Bishop Oyedepo once said, if you live your life for chance, you probably won't have a chance. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, your future will also be a lottery. That is what it is. So we'll have a lot to get into today. We're going to look at the fundamentals, really. And I try a lot to not just get into the deep of matters, but to start from the very background, the cradle, because when you have an understanding, a fundamental understanding of the beginning, it's easier for you to navigate your way. Then clarity becomes of essence, and the sense of direction becomes a consequence that happens to you. So I'm going to get quickly into it. But before I do that, I'm just going to ask for every one of us on call, please, can you just use is it possible for people to react? Is it possible for people to comment? Oh yeah, people can chat. Fine, fantastic. Can you tell me what you expect from this session quickly? Your expectations. All right, fantastic. Your expectations. What do you expect from this session? I mean, we call it goal setting for 2021. Research says 80% of New Year resolutions fail by February. Only just 8% are achieved at the end of the year. So the whole lot fizzle out in between the year. And I think the research is not true for 2020 because 2020 was an unprecedented year. So by the time they're going to run that research again for 2020, I wonder what the figures will be. So what are your expectations? I'm looking at the chart and I just want to see what do you look forward for this session? What are you looking forward to get? What any goal for this session, which is a goal setting session? Probably you are in the wrong community or in the wrong session right now. So please, 17, I know we have about 17 of us on this. I'm looking forward to see your comments. What do you want to see? While we do that, I'll just quickly share my screen. I hope I can share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, we can. You can share your screen, but we're not seeing it.
So once you can see, please just let me know. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So I'm still looking out for the comment. Okay, can you kindly help me go through? I'm struggling with the pants here.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
All right. So one person said he expects to gain the knowledge on effective framework for pursuing goals. Another person said how to sustain our goals.
Framework for pursuing goals. Yeah.
Yes. How to sustain our goals throughout the year. How to sustain our goals throughout the year.
Okay. Great. Somebody says that to gain the knowledge on an effective framework for pursuing goals, they are looking forward to knowing various strategies to being consistent with my goals for the year and beyond. Fantastic. Consistency is one of the key, really. Expecting to get strategies in order for my goals for 2020. So I see that when you look at the comments, why others come in, you will factor with all desire to sort of achieve our goals, we all desire to crunch our goals for the year. And that is common, isn't willing or, desirous of having their goals crunched for the year. So we'll just get into the bit of it. Again, confirm you can see my screen.
You can see it now. We can see it.
All right, fantastic. So welcome to the goal setting session. And basically what we're trying to do, because I'm going to try to help you understand the philosophy that drives goal setting. Prior to this session, I made a post on Facebook and also on LinkedIn, right on top of the post of Freddy, trying to just share and let people know about this session. And I said, goal setting is both a science and an art. Goal setting is both a science and an art. And a lot of people are very familiar with, they are fired up, they write down all the lofty goals, they write down all the amazing goals for the year. But then they don't understand the science, which is the principle that drives the process. And because they don't understand the philosophy that drives the process, they don't understand the principle that drives the process, they are not yet off to Uhuru. And that's why they run into a big challenge. So one of the things we're going to be looking at is to have that understanding, basically not just to look at the art, but also understand the philosophy, the process, the application that drives the process, the philosophy that try to develop them and structure them into 5 modules. The first, I call it getting on the track. I call it the do. And of course, the second is the fundamentals, beginning with the end in mind. Getting on the do basically getting on the track, which is the dough, basically speaks about the foundation. So if you take pizza, I know a lot of us love to eat pizza, for instance, you realize that there is a foundational base for every piece of pizza that is being produced, right? There is a foundational base. We're going to be looking at that foundational base, and we're also going to be looking at the fundamentals to the principles that drives goal setting process, which I call beginning with the end in mind. And of course, we're going to be looking at the nucleus, which is understanding the philosophy. And for me, that is key. That is pivotal. So how you set your goals and how you get them crunched, because the essence of this session is not just for you to learn how to set your goals. It's also for you to understand what is necessary for you to achieve your goals at the end of the day. And of course, the critical success factor, which I call the focus, is also another element we're going to be looking at. And the last model will be the deviations, watching out for the lions. The deviations, I call it watch out for the lions. So this is basically the 5 models that I'll quickly run through within the short period of time. I pray that God helps me and that I'm able to get through this in no time. So let's get into it. First, model 1. Let's talk about the track and getting on the do. Now, the first thing we need to understand is this. You cannot talk about goal settings without looking at certain factors, right? So I'm going to look at the factors that are closely related to goal setting. Let's put that, conceptualize that and contextualize that so that we put that into the framework of what we're trying to look at, so that we can begin to understand the basics of what we're trying to get here, which is goal setting, the basics of goal setting. First, we must understand that goal setting is about choosing where you want to go to. So it's about asking yourself, where exactly am I heading to? So it talks more about visualization. It talks more about vision. It talks more about the destination. It talks more about your aspiration. It talks more about your dream. So where exactly am I going to? So if you don't have a vision, you probably will not need to set a goal. If there is no vision, if there is no higher purpose, if there's no higher aspiration, if there's no greater responsibility or sense of obligation for you to achieve certain things in life, you probably don't need to set a goal. Also, you can't talk about goal setting without talking about planning. And I love this definition by Lakin. He says, planning is about bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. So what planning speaks about is the fact that planning is about bringing your goal, your vision for the future, bringing it down to now, that is exporting your future back into the present so that you can take control of it now. So planning is about bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. Now, goal setting and planning are intertwined. As a matter of fact, goal setting is a subset of planning. Goal setting is a subset of planning. So you can't talk about goal setting without talking about planning, and you cannot also talk about planning without talking about goal setting. Now, that being said, the first principle I will want you to understand is this. There is a difference between goals and results. The reason a lot of people fail to achieve their goals and their targets and their results in life is because they don't understand the difference between goals and results. They do not understand the difference between goals and results. And this is the reason why a lot of New Year resolutions fail early into the year. Now let's talk about goals and results. Goals speaks to what I call a nice to have, right? So when you talk about goal, what you're talking about is fine. This is a nice to have. This is what I desire to have. There is no element of intentionality when it comes to goal. There is no element of definiteness when it comes to goal. Goal has absolute direction and sense of aspiration. But if you don't crunch it, if you don't get it, then there is no problem. I mean, you tried. But results talks about clarity. Results talks about definiteness of results, definiteness of outcomes. So it's about playing to win at all costs. So when we talk about goal setting, what we should really be talking about is target setting or result outcome setting. It's about telling ourselves what is the outcome. 2-3 days ago, I was talking to my team. One of the things that I do, I also try, I dabble into media. So I have a couple of guys that run a digital music recording studio. And I told them clearly, and I asked them, what is your result for the organization this year? What is your result for the organization this month? What is your result for the organization for the first quarter of this year? So it's about result. And it was made clearly in that session where we ideated and said, XYZ is what we need to get. This is our desired outcome. It's not a goal. A goal is a nice to have. It takes away the absolute definiteness. It takes away the sense of compulsion that is reflected in results. Now, how do I know this? Watch this. I'm going to explain quickly with this story. In 1863, to be specific, July 2nd, we have the story. Let me see if I can quickly take this off. I think this is covering my screen. Okay, it's even better here now. Yeah, good. I'm going to share with you the story of the Civil War in Gettysburg. Now, this story speaks much about a 3-day civil war that took the whole of Penn's country. And what happened? It was basically a war between the Confederate forces and, of course, the Unionists or the Union forces. Now, the Confederate forces, when they were attacking the Union forces, what they did was to quickly settle on a mountaintop that was right behind the town of Gettysburg. Now, the fight lasted for just 3 days. The Civil War lasted for 3 days, which was, this particular war has been titled one of the bloodiest war within a short period of time. Within 3 days, but about the bloodiest civil war that has ever happened on the surface of the earth, with close to over 20,000 people killed in just 1 day, in one spot on one location or in one location. Now, what happened? The Confederate forces quickly settled on a mountaintop that was right at the back of the town of Gettysburg. So what that gives them was a vantage point to begin to unleash an artillery fire on the hordes of army infantry of the Unionists. Now, the commander of the Unionists was basically Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. He was given the order because they had understood that for the Confederate forces to have taken hold or lay hold of the mountain that is right behind the city, the town of Gettysburg, they realized that they were at the verge of losing out. And they weren't ready to lose out. So the clear order to Colonel Chamberlain, Joshua Lawrence, was simply, you must protect the province, the town of Gettysburg at all costs. And what they told him was basically, there is what we call the Little Round Top, is a small plane compared to the mountaintop that the Confederate forces have made hold on. So he was commanded to basically go there and lay siege and take control of the town. Do not allow the Confederate forces to break the army line. Do not allow the Confederate forces to break your line. Do not allow the Confederate forces to break your line, because the moment they break the line of the army forces, when they have captured Gettysburg. So the outcome was simple. The outcome was clear. The outcome was direct. It wasn't a goal. It wasn't a wish. It wasn't a desire. It wasn't a nice to have. It was a case of at all costs. At all costs, you must deliver on this. And I can tell you, the Union forces came under wildfire, waves upon waves of intense fire from the Confederate. But because there was a clear order given to the army, the forces, which was defend the round tabletop, defend the city of Gettysburg at all costs, they were able to hold back their force. They were able to stick to the and they were able to defend the army line. At the last, at about the point where they were about, caving in and giving in, they resorted into calling in the bayonets. And at that point, the Confederate forces began to retreat. And right there, they won. And at some point, Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain was asked, how did you build the temerity? What gives you the inspiration? What gives you the power? And he said, I wasn't given a goal, but I was given a result. The result was clear. The target was clear. The expectation was clear. The result was defend at all costs the province, the territory of Gettysburg. The difference between goals and results. The difference between goals and results. So my question to you will be, in 2021, what have you desired for yourself? Is it goal or is it result? Is it goals or is it result? So this welcomes me or brings me into module 2 quickly. And in module 2, I'm going to be talking about the fundamentals. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. This is the point where I'm going to ask questions. It's going to be a bit interactive here. And I need every one of us to use the chat button for us to participate, really. And the question will be, at this point, I'm saying begin with the end in mind. So what that means is take 5 steps backward, take 10 steps backward and ask yourself, why do I set results for myself? Why do I lay out outcomes for myself? Now watch this. From this moment going forward, I'm not going to be saying goals any longer. I'm going to be saying targets. I'm going to be saying results. I'm going to be saying outcomes. Why do we set results for ourselves? What's the purpose for pursuing the results, or at best, the plan that we set for ourselves? What do we intend to achieve? What is the outcome? What is the expectation? Can you please use the chat button? I want to see I want to hear what people are saying at this point. Why do you set the targets and the results you set for yourself? Why do you set all of those for yourself? Those big ticket items you've written down that you want to achieve. Uncle Ima, please, I might need your assistance because I'm sharing. I can't get to see the chat as quickly as possible. So can you help me if you have...
Yeah, I'll read them out as they come.
Okay, fantastic. So please, let's do this quickly. Again, it's about expectation, intent focused, outcome focused as well. So it's about intent driven, outcome focused. What is the intent and what is...
Yeah, we're beginning to have some response. To be a better version of myself. Someone also said to achieve success.
And that is why I'm asking the question. All of them pursue them. Okay, achieve success. Yeah. Success is a universal desired element. Yeah.
Okay. So someone said to be a better version of myself.
Okay.
Another person said to achieve success. Achieve success. Another one said a need for a sense of direction to attain desired outcome.
Sense of direction for desired outcome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Elements of clarity.
To
clarity
be a successful personality. Successful personality is another response we got.
Successful personality, fantastic. All right, so
yeah, to live a fulfilled life and to live a fulfilled life. How far I have gone with my set goals.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to take it up from here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All things you've said will basically culminate into some of this. So you're talking about happiness, we're talking about transformation, we're talking about success, we're talking about empowerment, we're talking about fulfillment, opportunities, mindfulness, possibilities, right? Development, dreams, goals, purpose, passion. All of this kind of, whatever it is a reason, will fall into one of these. And that is the truth. But one of the things that I know beyond this is the fact that basically it's about success. Everybody is success driven. Success is a universally desired commodity, if I may use that word. It's a universally desired factor. Everybody wants to be successful. But the truth of the matter is, the reason a lot of us miss it when we set our targets and our results for the year, our expectation and our desired aspiration, is because we do not know the true definition of success. So success for us is wobbled. When we say we are looking for success, what we're actually referring to, success has been the reason why a lot of us set lofty aspirations and targets and results for ourselves. But interestingly, the truth of the matter is what we're interested in is not success but fulfillment. But a lot of time we're not very conscious of that, so we begin to chase the element of success using the societal standard for the definition of success. And because the societal standard for the definition of success is wrong, we realize that at the end of the day, by the time we achieve whatever it is we set for ourselves, it's devoid of fulfillment. And at that point, you tend to feel that there is something missing. That's why you find a lot of people who have been termed to be successful societally by the worldly standard or by the societal standard, realize that their life is devoid of fulfillment. They seems to feel like there is something fundamentally missing. So when we have set targets and aspirations, what I'm trying to say in essence is this: what is your driving force? What is your motive? Somebody says when the motive or the reason or the purpose of something is not known, abuse is inevitable. The moment you get the motive wrong, your outcome is also going to be wrong. When the moment you get your driving force wrong, the results you're going to get at the end of the day is definitely going to be wrong. So that being said, I'm quickly going to move into module 3, which will begin to lay where I talk about the nucleus, which talks about the philosophy. Now you will realize that with the last module that I just talked about, the driving force, the bricks, the foundations that should drive your results and your aspirations, this is exactly what it looks. So what you have is actually your purpose, which is the powerhouse. I call it the mitochondria. For those of us who studied biochemistry, it is called the powerhouse of a cell. It carries all the energy, the cell energy, the ATPs. For those of us who studied science, you relate very much like with that drives the existence of a cell. The moment a cell or the moment the mitochondrion of a cell is dead, that cell is going to be dead, as a matter of fact. But if everything within the cell is dead and the mitochondrion is still alive, then there's an assurance for the revival of that cell. Your purpose is your powerhouse. Your purpose is what drives you. Now, for you to set your results, develop your plan, and to set your outcome, they must stem from your purpose. Because when your purpose is aligned with your results and your plan for yourself, what naturally becomes the consequence of whatever it is you've done is success and fulfillment. So you can never get it wrong this way. This is the foundational philosophy that drives goal setting. So I see a lot of people set goals and I ask myself, why do you set these goals for yourself? Let me use their word. So I take, for instance, somebody says, I want to get married very quickly. And I said, fantastic. It's good to get married. But the question is why? Ask people, a lot of people who wants to get married. Why do you want to get married? And they're going to go, well, everybody gets married. Oh, really? Really? I want companion. Well, if you want companion, you probably don't need to get married. So the question is why? So you discover that a lot of times our actions are born out of, societal influence, because of course, we are all social animals and we get influenced by our environment. As a matter of fact, your result most times is a reflection of your exposure and also of your environment. Your result will never be far from your environment. Your result will never be far from your environment. And when I say environment, it goes beyond just your geographical location. I'm talking even your resource. I'm talking your masterminds. I'm talking your circle of masterminds. I'm talking your mentors, people who surrounds you, right? Your circle of masterminds, the environment that you've created intellectually, even career-wise, and even in other areas. So the question you begin to ask yourself is, as you want to set the goals or the results, as it were, and the plans for 2021, are they aligned with your purpose? Because if they are not aligned with your purpose, you might achieve them, but I can tell you that it is not going to deliver to you success and fulfillment. And even if it delivers to you success, it's not going to deliver to you fulfillment. And for me, the most important target and outcome and results you can set for yourself is that will deliver to you fulfillment. If it's not delivering to you fulfillment, then why do it? So this is exactly what you should look at. Now, this being said, we'll just progress quickly into a question that I would like to ask. And that, what is your purpose or vision statement? Now that you realize, now that you understand that this is very critical, what is your purpose and your vision statement? Whatever target you set for yourself, whatever result you set for yourself must stem from your purpose and your vision. And that's why it's very, very important, very critical for you to understand what your vision is. So the question again will be, what is your vision? Are your targets set around your vision? Do they revolve around your vision? And this is how you get to know, by questioning yourself. What is your why? If you understand your why, you most probably will understand your how and your what. Your why is your core. And this is the three most pertinent questions you can ever ask yourself when you're setting goals for yourself, or setting targets for yourself, and we're setting results and outcomes for yourself. What is your why? Why are you setting such targets for yourself? Why? If you understand the why, you probably will understand the how to go about it and what you need to achieve it. The three most pertinent questions you must ask yourself. Why are you setting such targets? Why such aspiration? Why such dreams? If you understand the why, you probably understand how then you need to go about it, and of course, what you need to do that. Because the moment you understand your purpose, the strategy becomes palpable, and of course, success becomes a consequence. It's just a resultant consequence of what happens to you. It's no longer the goal. It's just the consequence that happens to you at the end of the day. Welcome to Module 4. Now, this is where I'm going to spend a couple of time, because I'm very conscious of our time, and I call it the critical success factor, which is the focus, the critical success factor. Now, riding on the background of everything that I've said right from the beginning, you will realize that the moment you have a clear vision of where you're going to or where you want to be, which is solely stemming out from your purpose statement or your vision statement, say, where am I? The Igbo people will call, where they say, where are you? They call it the East anyway, but I tend to love some of the words and the way it sounds. So where you are is your Ebano, and where you want to be is your Ebaneji. What stems out from these two is your action plan. So if you have a fundamental understanding of your purpose, which will crystallize to you your vision, then you will realize that it's easy for you to begin to decipher where your destination should be. And the moment you're able to get that, which is your Ibaneje, then it's easy for you to ask yourself, so where am I relative to where I want to be? And the moment you get that, the difference between where you are and where you want to be is your action plan. That forms your action plan. Now, gradually, I'm going to go into the process that is involved. And this is exactly how it works. I call it the strategic gap analysis. So you look at your objectives, you look at your outcomes, and like other people call it, the goals, the results that you want to achieve, and you ask yourself, what is my current standard? If I look at my objectives and I look at my current standard, the next thing will now be, what is my expected competency to move me to where I need to be? Your expected competency will determine your action plan. What you need will determine your action plan. Sometimes your expected competency might just be access to people that have more experience, right? People that have much more experience in certain areas to give you a shoulder or to give you opportunity or platform for you to leverage on. That might just be what you need. The difference between your Ebano and your Ebaneje, the difference between where you are and where you want to be. And that forms your action plan. And I'm going to break it down for you to begin to understand. I'm having an example here. So let's flip it this other way around and say, let's take for instance, and what I'm trying to say here essentially, let me go back a bit. What I'm trying to say here essentially is about breaking down your targets into action plan, breaking down your results, your expected outcome into action plan, because it's not just enough for you to develop your big ticket item and ignore how you're going to achieve it. Because this is where one of the copious reasons why a lot of us do not achieve our results at the end of the year. The moment we are able to set up, the moment we are able to plan and lay out our objectives, we don't get to achieve them because we don't break them into action plan. We leave them at the level of targets, results, expectations, outcomes, and goals in quotes, without necessarily breaking it down to the level of action plan. And I'll give you this example. So here is an example. My objective, for instance, my goal, for instance, or my target, for instance, my result, for instance, is to read one book in a month. And we're talking about probably one book, it's probably an average of 200 pages. Excuse me. Now, excuse me. Now, a lot of time, the reason a lot of us don't achieve this is People look at the book and say 200 pages. Wow, that is huge. Now, it weighs mental weight up on their mental fortitude. It releases an exact weight on their mental fortitude so much that they get discouraged and said, how am I going to achieve completing 200 pages in 1 month? But the truth is, if you break it down to action plan, which is what I call resolutions, you realize that what you needed to do was basically read 7 pages per day. So rather than focus on the bigger outcome, just look at what the action plan is per time. Somebody says, forget about the years, forget about the months, focus on the moment. The years and the months will deliver itself to you if you focus on the moment. So you realize that breaking that down into your action plan, breaking it down into what I call your resolution, is just reading 7 pages per day. And if you are very religious and consistent about it, you realize that there are certain days you read more than 7 pages. So the tendency is that you are going to complete that book even before the month ends. But what usually happens is the moment, take for instance, for a certain day, we're able to read 14 pages. By the next day, you're going to slow down and say, well, I've covered the 7 pages for today, so let me just slow down a bit. That's what we do. And by that, we get to relax and lukewarmness begins to set in. So break down your targets into resolutions. Break down your targets into action plan. Pretty important. A good example also is this. In 2017, my goal was to write a book in 6 months, which is about 200 pages, and it's about an average of 40,000 words. Now, when I broke that down into resolution, a lot of people would tell you, wow, how do I do that? How do I write a book in 6 months? When I broke that down I realized that what I needed to do was just write 1 page per day. That was just all. 1 page per day, 7 pages per week, 1 chapter, and that makes 1 chapter per week, and I'm fine. Just 1 page per day. I do not focus on the 200 pages, 40,000 words. What I focus on is just 1 page per day. And truth be told, I was able to do that in less than 6 months. And because I understand this principle, I understand this philosophy, my second book is ready, and I did that in less than, just few days, really. I was able to write out the structure, and all I needed to do was just flesh it up, and everything took less than 3 months. This is what the power of breaking down your targets, your results, and your expectations into action plan does for you. Break it down into action plan, break it down into resolution. So you must break down all your action plans into resolution. Now that has been emphasized, and in breaking that down, you must make it smart. Like we all know, something that is achievable, something that is smart, something that is time bound. Yeah, something that is time bound. Something that is achievable, something that is realistic, something that is measurable, and something that is smart. Now, all of this has been revolutionized. Today, you have smart track. Sometimes, if you look through the literatures, you're going to find the smart mark and all of things like that. For me, whatever model you use is probably not as relevant as you understanding the principle, understanding that first you need to align your visions, your aspirations, your dreams, your targets, your results to your purpose, and you need to break them down into action plan that the small achievable bits, the small daily bits that will deliver to you the big ticket item. Now, this is the fundamentals for what I call the critical success factor. I'm someone who is very religious, I'm not apologetic about it. And I'm not taking a slight at someone who doesn't share the same religious view with me. But this is one quote that I love so much, which tends to emphasize what I've been trying to talk about. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. I'm going to use this to explain a couple of things. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. The interesting part of this is this. I'm going to use this as an example. A lot of times, for those of us who are religiously minded, let me put it that way, who are very, very attuned to religion, we realize that when we set targets for ourselves, we go to sleep. And it's one of the biggest reasons we don't get to crunch them and we don't get to achieve them. Number one is the fact that sometimes it's not aligned to our vision, it's not aligned to our purpose. And number two is the fact that we don't break it down into action plan. We don't break it down into resolution. Here is the reason why you need to break it down into resolution. And I say faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. When you say substance of things hoped for, so I'm going to use a critical example. Let's say, for instance, my plan at the end of the year 2021, say by December, my desire is to buy a car, and the car is just 1 million naira, for instance. So what that tells me is this: the substance of what I hope for is the car. That by December, I'm going to get a car that is worth 1 million naira. The evidence of things not seen, which is a reflection of the substance of things hoped for, is the fact that if I apply breaking that down into resolution, apply breaking your target, the philosophy of breaking your target down into resolution to this goal and target of buying a car, I realize that what I need to do is to begin to save up 100,000 naira per month. If I'm to buy a car of about 1.2 or 1 million naira, I need at least minimum of 100,000 naira per month. Your 100,000 naira per month is the evidence of things not seen. So if you want to get a car of 1.2 or 1 million naira, and you are able to save 100,000 naira per month, and you show me this is your evidence of things to come, then I can prophesy into your life as a prophet that by December you are going to buy that car. All things, I know definitely that you get that car by. But the way you need to exercise your faith in achieving the set goals and target for yourself is for you to understand that beyond the substance of things hoped for, you must begin to put to place the evidence of things not seen, which is the evidence that crystallizes into your hands that shows you that indeed at the end of the day you're going to get it. And that's why what's a Mabu, I say you are an aggregate of what you do daily. That is your daily routine and your daily endeavor. They crystallize, before you the results that you get at the end of the day. As a matter of fact, is the reason they say today is your critical platform of negotiating your future, is your critical platform of negotiation. What you do today culminates into what you become tomorrow or what you achieve tomorrow. So you must break down your targets, your results into action plan so that you'll be able to realize that at the end of the year. So that brings me to module 5, which is the last module. And here I talk about killing the lions, watching out for the lions and killing the lions. Here, I'm basically going to talk about the reason why a lot of times we do not achieve our targets for the year. And I'm going to tell you this. One of the reasons is this, which is the foundation, is because we do not look at our trends. We don't look at trends. We don't look at trends. We don't look at trends. And that is one of the bane of Africa. We don't look at trends. We don't document and we don't look at trends. We don't document, we don't look at trends. Take for instance, somebody is sick in your community or one of your neighbors is sick. They applied all manner of medications and the person gets healed. Tomorrow, somebody down the street gets sick and probably the same or similar illness. And somebody says, oh, I remember this person once had this kind of ailment or infirmity. And you quickly walk up to the person and say, look, we learned that you had this kind of, you were down for this certain reason. Now we have somebody who has that similar situation. Can you please tell us the drugs that you took and how you were able to get it out of it? And the guy will go, you know what? I don't know. They brought all manner of things. I kept taking, I kept consuming, I kept taking, I kept consuming, and I discovered that I'm fine. What has technically happened is the fact that the guy has basically lost an opportunity to deliver a product. His experience has helped him to navigate through the woods, and he's been able to crystallize to himself, really, the needed medication for you to get out of a certain ailment. But because he has failed to document, he does not remember and he does not have that solution readily. The solution slips out of his hand. A viable product slips out of his hand. Lack of documentation. This is the bane of Africans. This is the bane of Africans. One of the reasons we don't achieve our target is because we don't document. The first question two questions I'm going to ask you is this. Has there been any time you set a target for yourself and you achieve it? Can you remember what you did? Maybe the 10 basic things you did that helped you in achieving the results. Can you also remember a time you set a target for yourself and you did not achieve the result? Can you remember the 10 things you did that resulted into you not achieving your results? If you are able to remember and document this and write them down plainly, you will realize that for those steps that you took that led to you achieving your result, those are your success models. And for the 10 steps that you took that led to you not achieving your results, those are your failure models. Now, when you have these two tools armed, or when you're armed with these two tools, your success model and your failure model, you realize that you could crunch any target or results that you set for yourself. When I was to write my first book and I was to do it in 6 months, I knew what the strategies were. I knew what the steps were. And I call it my success model. And that is why I'm able to optimize that process so much that I can write another book of higher volume in half the time it took me to write the first book, because I was able to optimize my success model. If I had used my failure model that has led to my failure in other areas, I wouldn't have been able to achieve it. So my question to you is, do you know your success model and do you know your failure model? That is one thing you must be able to write out clearly. So you want to go back to previous target that you set for yourself, those you were able to achieve and those you were not able to achieve. Write out your success model, write out your failure model, and you have two viable tools in your hands for you to navigate the way forward. So killing the lions, the first thing is this: a lot of people live outside in and a lot of people live inside out. People who live outside in are people who are being influenced by the societal definition of success and by the societal style of doing things. So they don't take into cognizance their potential. They don't take into cognizance their strength. They don't take into cognizance their vulnerabilities. They don't take into cognizance their dislikes and likes. And all of this plays out in the kind of targets that they set for themselves. All of this plays out in the kind of results that they aspire for. And as a result of that, they do not achieve their goals. Don't live outside in. The way you need to live is to live inside out. The way you live is to live inside out. Living inside out means start from the core. Start from the core means start from the inside. Starting from the inside means starting from your why, your purpose. Your purpose. Don't ever set goals that are not, or targets that are not in line with your purpose. Don't ever set targets that are not in line with your purpose. You won't achieve it. And even though you achieve it, if you eventually achieve it, it will not deliver to you fulfillment. It will not deliver to you fulfillment. Secondly, when we set goals or target for ourselves, at the beginning of the year, we are very enthusiastic. So we think the way to go is you just move from point A to point Z. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. The way it works is this. This is the error factor. One of the error factor, which is the second one I'm talking about. The way it works is this. There are steps. And this is where we talk about resolution, re-emphasizing what I've talked about before. Resolution, break them down into action plan. There must be steps from A to B to C before you get to Z. There must be steps. It's not just one stroke, one throw. It's not just one dash. There are steps to it. There are steps to it. The second one is this, or the third one is this. This is fundamental. A lot of us do not understand how the human brain or the brain works. We don't understand how we learn. This is one of the factors that kill attitudinal change. Targets that are surrounded, that revolves around attitudinal change. This is one of the copious reasons we don't achieve it. And I'm quickly going to explain it from a scientific point of view. Now, when you give birth to a child, when you are young as a baby, we say the child arrives tabula rasa. What that means is the brain of the child is plain. So there are no patterns, there are no ideas, nothing. The child comes pure, unadulterated. There is nothing installed, no program installed in the brain of the child. Now, what happens is, as the child begins to grow, the child is being taught ideas, concepts. So for a child who wants to wee, you probably will hold the child by the hand and walk the child to the bedroom or to the convenience and say, ease yourself. Every time you do that, what you create in the child, in the brain of the child, is what we call neural patterns. The neural pattern is created by the connection of neurons and dendrites and synapses. So if you tell a child to go and wee in the convenience, for instance, the first time you do that, you have what we call an establishment of a pattern, a neural pattern that refers going to ease yourself. If you do it over time, the pattern begins to get more established, so much that the time comes when the child on his own, whenever the child is pressed, the child understands that, oh, now I'm pressed, the next thing I need to do is to go wee. Oh, now I'm hungry, the next thing I need to do is to get food. Oh, now I'm thirsty, the next thing I need to do is to get water. So for those of us that are adults, what we have in our head means we have billions of patterns. For everything you do, for opening your eye, there is a neural pattern. For speaking, there is a neural pattern. For each word that you say, there is a neural pattern. For sitting down, there is a neural pattern. For standing, there is a neural pattern. For dancing, there is a neural pattern. For each type of dance, there is a neural pattern. For whatever it is, whatever task that you carry out, there is a neural pattern established. Now, stick with me. Remember what I said. When you give birth to a child arrives tabula rasa. The child arrives with no idea, plain slate, clean slate. As the child begins to grow, ideas are taught into that child, concepts are taught into that child, theories are taught into that child, either deliberately or not, either by societal influence or by mentorship or whatever. As a result, the child begins to establish neural patterns in their brain. Now, watch this. This is the reason why our thought process is aligned to neural pattern. Remember what I said. You could see at this point, you have this yellow pattern at the top on the focused mode. You have yellow pattern. What usually happens is this. When you have an established pattern, the way we solve problem is to relate introduce a new, when you have a new problem introduced into the mind and into the brain of a child or into our brains as humans, what we try to do is to sort of superimpose the new idea or to sort of relate the new challenge or the new problem with the already registered pattern in our head, so much that we try to solve the problem by the examples that we have. Is the reason why when you're in school, mathematics or calculus, you're given examples before exercise. So you realize that the moment your lecturer gives you an exercise, you quickly want to sort of connect the example that you have solved in the class with the exercise you are given. The moment the exercise does not look like the example, you quickly protest and say, sorry, sir, the example you gave us is different from the exercise you've given us. Why? Because what has happened is this. Watch this. As you can see, as you introduce it, your mind begins to try to, sort of outline the problem, solve the problem by virtue of the neural pattern that has already been established in your head. And the beginning of this is this. This is what I call the diffuse mode. The diffuse mode is that mode where you don't have an established pattern. So you basically will solve problem by serendipity. So if you introduce an idea, your brain will basically bounce it around, and try to solve the problem. And the moment you are able to solve the problem, it's established a pattern. It's established a pattern, a neural pattern. And the moment a new problem comes in, you try to solve that new problem, relating it to the neural pattern that exists in your head. Now, two things happen. If you do not have an existing pattern that gives you the competency to solve the new problem, what happens to you is this. It's discover the solution by the diffuse mode, which is by serendipity, by bouncing it around, stretching yourself and trying to work it out such that you get a solution, or you now need a higher knowledge, someone who has a registered pattern in his brain to solve. Stick with me. So both of them are flip side of the coin. Now, this is what happens. When you solve a problem or when you establish a habit newly, you have a very, look at, see the one on my left, you can see you have a very faint, when you solve a problem, very faint pattern. So let's bring it back to change, goals that resolves, our targets that resolve around attitudinal change. Let's say, for instance, you smoke and you've been smoking over time. The first time you're going to have a very fainted pattern on it, a very fainted pattern. The very first time you smoke, the pattern becomes more established. Very times we find it difficult to change our habits. Why? Because it took a long time to establish those patterns. And it's probably going to take longer time to either superimpose that pattern with a new pattern that we desire for us to establish, or we desire to establish, or to even clean it or to erase it. So take, for instance, you are in school and your desire is to probably study 8 hours per day. And usually before now, you are used to it from 7 p.m. to like 10 p.m. That's a pattern already registered in your brain. Now, what happens to you is this. The moment it is 7 p.m., Your natural tendency, because of the existing pattern in your brain, is to go watch Z1. Now there is a counteracting or conflicting pattern that you're trying to introduce into your mind, which is to pick up your books and start reading. So what that happens is this. The very first attempt, you're going to have what we call a temporary feeling of pain. You feel very unhappy. You instantly feel very unhappy. You feel that pain in your head because you feel like you're supposed to do something that you used to do that you derive joy from, so to speak. But right now, you are trying to change the pattern. It becomes challenging. It becomes difficult. What a lot of people do is they quickly shift to the pleasant task, what they've been used to. Then they get back to their old pattern. At the end of the day, they realize that they've not been able to crunch their targets. They've not been able to crunch the numbers. They've not been able to crunch their results for the year. And what you find is a feeling of unhappiness because they've not achieved what they want. This relates a lot to goals that revolve around attitudinal change. And this is the more reason why the other quick point I'm going to make, I hope I don't get ahead of myself. Okay, I'm going to say that later, but let me get back to this. The other quick point I'm going to make is the fact that on goal setting is I see them set long list of goals for themselves, and I smile. Number one, for every goal you set, it bears mental weight on your psychology. It bears mental weight on you. And what that means is you shouldn't take on too many goals at the same time, especially when it has to do with attitude. So let's take, for instance, one of your goal or target this year is such that I'm using this as an illustration. You want to be able to lay your bed in the morning when you wake up. You want to be able to do the dishes before you go to work. You want to be able to tidy the house. You want to be able to do your morning devotions and things like that. You write 10 things down. I can tell you that you are going to do the 10 of them probably for the first 2 days. Why? Because each one of those goals bear mental weight on your cognitive ability. What you're supposed to take it one bit at a time. So let's say, for instance, the first you want to take is to lay your bed. So wake up in the morning, lay your bed. It doesn't matter. Leave the dishes on watch. And do tendency because the pattern has been established. The next one you test goal. You take grand amount. The other reason a lot of people don't achieve as I begin to round up, they don't achieve their goal, how busy they are. And the truth of the matter is what is on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So the first question, like I said, still also riding on the last point I just made is the fact that, sorry, I got kick tagged again. I'm almost done now. I think network is also telling me my time is up. Can you hear me?
Let's wrap it up for us. Thank you.
Yes, okay, yes. I'm done now. So it's about sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I said you can continue. So that you wrap it up for us.
All right. So it's pretty much important that we're able to schedule our priorities versus prioritizing our schedule. And lastly, I think I'm almost there, is to say that the other reason why we also fail is what I call the illusion of competence, right? The illusion of competence. When we set our targets at the beginning of the year, that zest, that drive, that enthusiastic move gives us the feeling of, oh, just by writing it down is even enough for us to achieve it. Then we go to sleep. And sometimes we do not pay attention. We do not realize that there is a lot of competence that is required in us delivering on those targets. And those competence sometimes might be competence that revolve around consistency, sticking to the gums when it's difficult, when we are hit the hardest, the illusion of competence. So it's important for you to understand that for every target and goals you set for yourself, there are certain levels of competence that is required for you to deliver on them. And beyond that, it's enough to plan, or it's important to plan, but it's not enough. Then you must take action, because planning is just I call it the domestic chores that you do when it comes to achieving your goals. So it's like someone who wants to cook. So you go to the market and wash the dishes and get the zinc cleared and get the cooker ready. You've not done the job. You've just prepared. To achieve your goals is by taking action. So you must take action. You must take action. You must take action. And that's why this man says, Confucius says, the will to win, the desire to succeed, and the urge to reach your full potential. Those are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence. The will to win, the desire to succeed, and the urge to reach your full potentials. The urge to get to your full potentials. The will to win will give you the zest, will give you the drive. The desire to succeed, of course, will give you the burning desire to keep going even when you are hit hard most, when you hit bottom rock. Of course, the urge to reach your full potential will help you to develop even the competence that is required for you to deliver on your targets and your goal. At this point, I'm going to leave it here. I want to say it's been an amazing time with us here, and this is the point where we probably will take some questions. Over to you, sir.
All right, Ben. Thank you very much. In fact, they've been very, very powerful. Always new things to learn whenever you are presenting. So at this point, please, I would like us to mute and give our speaker a round of applause for a job well done. Ben, I really appreciate you for your time. I know this resource that you've shared with us, you get paid in dollars to be able to deliver it, but you decide to make a sacrifice for us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.
All right. Okay. So at this point, please, if you have questions, you could either use the chat button or you raise your hands and we will just give you the floor to ask your question, please. Quick one, ask a question about goal setting. Are there areas where you have challenges uh, so that Ben could just try and flesh it out for us? I'm sorry, I've been receiving chats from people on my WhatsApp. They've been struggling to join. We would have had more numbers than this. Some people, Zoom has been a challenge with their mobile phone, but we hope to get around it in future. Technology is advancing, so we'll solve that problem in near future. So if you have any question for Mr. Ben, you can ask your questions at this point uh, concerning what he's talked about. He's talked about five modules. The first one has to do with getting on the track. Where exactly are you heading to? So we need to clearly define that journey. Where do I want to be? What do I want to get out of it? And how am I going to go about it? So the second module we talked about the fundamentals, beginning with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind is very, very key. You want to go to university, you want to be a graduate in mechanical engineering, lawyer, you want to be a doctor, that is the end goal. But what do you need now? You are still in primary school. You need to get your secondary school certificate. It means you have to go through secondary school. So something like that. So module 3 we talk about the nucleus, the philosophy, talking about the purpose, result, and plan, which when geared up together, you have the desired success. So, what is your purpose and vision statement? That has to drive you every day. Well, for me personally, at home, we have in our bedroom on the wall, we just write out a small piece of paper that you wake up and you see every day that will speak to you, that will continue to serve as a reminder, the purpose and the vision statement. That anytime you say those words, they fire it up whenever you want to get weak. So we need to really get that philosophy so that it will resonate with us at all time. And he extensively talked about that. And then the fourth one is the critical success factor, looking like what we say gap to potential. So where am I today? Everybody say I'm a first class student, but my result is showing third class. So how do I get from that third class to where I need to be? So there should be some action plan. There should be some action plan. I tried that when I was in school back in the days, and even my wife shared her testimony with me, and she had to approach it. First. You just having A's, and this thing is just easy for you. How do you do it? And we can learn from that, following an action plan. It could take us from where we are now to where we want to be in future. So and you need to work out that out and be consistent with it. Discipline is required for us to is a critical tool in the critical success factor. So we need to break that action plan. So what is doable? You need to break it down and continue to and make it smart. If you need to transfer uh, 50 liters of water using a spoon, you need to ask yourself, okay, spoon, will that how many trips will I make with a spoon? But if I get a bucket, if I get a cup, how many will I make? And so you need to make it very, very smart. Do I really want to spend 1 year transferring 50 liters from point A to B? Or do I want to do it in 5 minutes? Do I want to do it in 2 minutes? So, and he gave us one of his very powerful quotes. You are an aggregate of what you do, daily routines, and your daily endeavors. And that's true. Just like Bishop Yedeko said, you are a different person 5 years from now, depending on the books you read and the kind of company you keep. So that daily routine you do define your new person you want to be in future. And the last module we talked about the deviations, killing the lion, and it has to do with how we think, how we see things. What are those things that help us, that does not make us to succeed in our goals? What are those things that kills our emotions, that kills our feelings, that say, I beg, that does not build our resilience? How our brain works such that it continues to make our resilience diminish. These are some of the things so that when you set a very good goal in January, February, you just fiddle out. And it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone. Last year, we set out goals for the family and we didn't achieve it. But we had to tell ourselves, let's not hide under COVID. COVID came, companies were succeeding, and other companies were succeeding. Uh, please, if you're not speaking, mute, please. Thank you. So COVID came. There are people who succeed. Elon Musk made money. Other people succeed in different endeavors. So there were opportunities for you to tap in, but we didn't really look at it. So, and that did not define our, where we wanted to be at the end of the year. So these things are the minute things, and when you accumulate it over time, they affect our final delivery. So I think enough has been said. Enough has been said. And at this point, I would like to keep the floor open. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to ask Ben questions, please can you signify by raising up your hands, or you can unmute and ask your question, please. One after the other, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I want to appreciate you for a job well done. I I can't but say I've learned significantly some insight and in some of your models. Now, I want to make a comment and I will also ask you a question which you can throw more light so that a lot of people on the platform can learn. You spoke about success model and failure model, and you said, do you know your success model? How you succeed through a certain process. You can use that to face any goal that you've set per time. And then you also spoke about the failure model. Do you know your failure model so that you don't have to go through that again? That resonates a lot when you were speaking. And that threw me into thinking about while I was in Nigeria. Um, Emmanuel knows the story. How we were able to survive through all the phases of life that we went through up to college until we got out of school. I remember when I was looking for a job, Emmanuel was still encouraging me. He was telling me stuff I could do differently and all that. Until finally I got a job And he also told me what to do while I got a job. And I could vividly recall, he said, you need to strategize on how to keep the job. And then should you lose that job, how to get another one. Now, when I found myself in the US, I was also in that same shoe, in that same position I was in Nigeria. Emmanuel called me for 15 minutes. And he spoke to me for just 15 minutes. It was not far from what you just shared today. Success model and failure model. And you know what I did? I had to retrace my step in the success model I used in Nigeria to succeed before I came to the US to train as a pilot. I don't know if you can throw more light again in those two subjects, success model and failure model, and let our audience understand the fact that success is incremental. It's a process. For each step you take per second, it builds your resilience. You leave a footprint. You leave a mark. It stays in your mind. Anytime you face obstacle or you face challenges in the course of pursuing your goal during this course of the year, you can trace back your foot. I think you mentioned an example when you were writing your first book. You had to, follow a certain principle that you've used before to attain success. And now, should you want to write a higher volume of a book, you wouldn't need to struggle again because you already gotten a footprint you want to follow through. Well, you see, I'm sorry to say it, our young people want it quick. They want to wake up and then succeed the next second. You guys should not laugh. I might be a little bit I don't know how to refine it the way you say it, but I just say it the way it is. Our young people want it they want to wake up today, plan today, execute today, and succeed today. They want to start a business today, make money today, have a high turnover today. Please, can you just throw more light so that they should have that understanding that success model is incremental? It goes through a process. And this process can be replicated when you set more goals. And it takes you closer and closer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fred. I mean, that was indeed spot on. The truth of the matter is, just like you said, it's a process. Whatever it is you're doing, it's a process. So as a fact, the way how you get to fulfill it, and as a matter of fact, the process is more important than the product or the outcome. The process is more important than the outcome. The process helps you to build character. Process helps you to build consistency, and that's why Joy Watt says, in good times you build confidence, in bad times you build character. The way you succeed is about replicating your success model, and not just replicating it, optimizing and replicating. Optimizing and replicating. If you are not optimizing and replicating your success model, you would not in any way become successful. Now, this is it. This is one of the reasons why a lot of business owners in Africa and in Nigeria do not upskill to become an entrepreneur. Not this. There's a difference between a business owner, a salesperson, and an entrepreneur. There is a huge difference. The difference is about replicating their success model. It's about institutionalizing their success model. It's about creating system thinking. So if I have done XYZ and I'm able to get this result, what I need to do is this. If I document that process properly, I'll realize that anytime I'm pressure, let me put it that way, for which I had instituted the standard, I am going to get the same result. That's what happens even in analytical words when they create what we call analytical standards. They give you conditions and they tell you if you're able to do this, you are expected to get this result with an error margin of plus or minus 0.05, for instance. So what that means is over time, they've created a model, and the model becomes organic because it has been tested and trusted. And that's what builds your character. That's what builds your confidence. But if you are the type that get things done, you get some done, you don't get some done, and you don't even take stock. You are not even sure. You don't even remember how exactly you get things done. You realize that you will not be able to replicate that process. Talk more of improving that process. So you must understand that at the end of the day, even though the outcome is important, the process is even much more important. Now, a couple of days back, I was talking to my team. We're working on a project that will be rolling out very soon. And one of the desires of that project is for us to be able to reach out to about 5 continents. And Africa, of course, obvious Africa, Asia, Europe, and all the likes. And they told me, okay, we can't do this. And I said, okay, fine. I think we can do this. And this and this and this is why we can do this. The team went to work, and 3 days later, they were able to crack it. And they came back, and one of my team members asked me, how did you know we were able to do this? And I said, my success model. I have used this before, and it worked. And I know per time that if you rework this process, it's going to work. And that's why when you meet sales experts, when you meet professionals and entrepreneurs, sales experts, they will always tell you how to kill deals, how to seal this. Why? Because they have a model. They understand their success model. They will quickly tell, because what they give you is experiential pacing. They give you experiential pacing. So it is important for us to know that and you can't even, how do you improve a system when you don't even measure it? Have that metrics. You must be able to determine where you are, what you've succeeded in, what you failed in, the reason you succeeded, the reason you failed, and begin to optimize it. So it's not just enough to take stuff, but you must optimize it. You must optimize that process. Keep reworking that process, keep optimizing that process, because that model is going to help you to take on greater challenges. That model is going to help you to take on bigger tasks ahead.
Thank you very much for that response, Ben. Really appreciate. I don't know if anybody wants to ask another question so that Ben can answer, and then we'll pass on. It's been an engaging 1.5 hour, and I believe we've really benefited a lot. Anybody?